Good afternoon, boys and girls. This is Mr. S with your Chapter 12 review on motivation and work. So let's get to it. This should be, I think, an easy one. 30 questions, multiple choice, no free response. Let's be motivated to do as well as we can on it, so let's get going. You need to know the difference between an instinct and a drive. It's the drive that gets us, that's triggered by this, or that triggers these aroused states or activated states, which we're going to talk about. Hunger, sex, the drive to belong, to work, to succeed, those things. So drive. We talked about homeostasis and incentives. Homeostasis is where our body likes to be at. Incentives, what gets us to do certain things. Look at Maslow, hierarchy of motives, and the idea of physiological needs and the necessities of like food and drink. From out of that, we talked about the first motivation, and that's for survival, and that's hunger, food. Look at the role of the hypothalamus. Look at the role of set points. Look at disorders that come from that, anorexia, bulimia. From there, we looked at the motivation and drive towards sex or human sexuality. Look at the idea of how we have disorders and how they can be dealt with. We looked at the idea of sexual orientation. So please look at that as why that may occur, especially from a genetic perspective and what sexual orientation means. Then we looked at the idea of need for belongingness and the motivation or drive, and think about Tom Hanks in Castaway. Then we talk about the motivation for work and the idea to have some kind of purpose and the idea of the difference between a job and a calling. And then within that, how people do that and how they immerse themselves in their work, or the concept of flow. And within that, the idea of industrial organizational psychology, or IO psychology, and how to motivate, organize, create environments to get people to be more productive and to reach their full potential. And you could even link that back, if you wanted to Maslow. Within that, we'll look at different types of assessment. That's the term I want. Assessment. And whether it's through 360-degree feedback. The idea how we, on the job, in school, we get feedback. In theory, as students, you get feedback from the form of report cards. In jobs, we get them from bosses, from customers, from co-workers. A lot of times we judge people on social, personal, psychological perspectives instead of actual skills. The idea of know the halo effect. One of the key ingredients to success, motivation, and work is the idea that people choose to have this idea of achievement motivation. There's this internal drive to want to succeed, to constantly strive forward. A lot of times in the workplace, we have different types of management styles, just like you probably see in teaching in school, and that would be your experience. Different teachers have different styles. There are different types of leadership styles, we could say. And whether it's transformational leadership, whether it's more social leadership, please look at the differences between leadership styles. That should do it. 30 questions. Let's get motivated, everyone, to do as best that they can on this one. And that's it. I'll see you in class.